One of the key features of number knowledge is that one doesn't just have the knowledge, you have it with the highest possible cognitive processing speed that you can. Number knowledge should have strong automaticity. So performing counting sequences, retrieving facts, executing procedures quickly, all happening with accuracy and understanding for sure, but also all executed with the highest level of processing speed that the person has the potential for. Sometimes people use the word fluency. This works, but only if it's seen in these terms of pressing speed and accuracy, and being so much more than recall of facts. The end game for this is when a child can perform a 3-stage procedural move quickly, accurately, and with a backstory of understanding. And where each of the 3 procedural parts has its own cognitive processing challenge. That's important. And even where one of these parts has its own 3-part procedure in its origin. For example, double 687. The double 87 is now one smooth procedural part, but was, back in the day, acquired as its own 3-part procedure. Now it's one element, combined with 2 further elements to result in a quick and accurate response from the child. This level of thinking capability gives a much greater return on wider mathematics gains and general intellectual ability, and can be set up as the norm for young children in a school-wide high-performance number knowledge journey. To do that, this number knowledge program should have 2 critical features. Firstly, it uses a synthetic approach that builds pieces of secure knowledge together through a structured whole school plan. Secondly, it employs a teaching methodology that constantly places a press on the increase in multi-stage cognitive processing ability, which we could call fluency. This constant press should itself happen in 2 channels. The first is a daily teacher-led number knowledge session. Some schools have this daily session allocated, but haven't yet maximised the return for the investment of time. And that's because the number knowledge program that they're using isn't a specific number knowledge program at all. The second channel for this press on cognitive processing happens in independent learning. Now this is quite hard to get to. Basically, that press on cognitive processing speed actually needs to be longer and more frequent for each child than an individual class teacher can possibly provide. This is where a specific number knowledge program on a digital platform comes in. If a teacher can replicate that same press on processing speed when they aren't able to give direct input, both in the classroom but particularly at home, they can then massively accelerate a child through to the high performance point that we've just described. Another way to look at this is to realise that a teacher who presses cognitive ability in the classroom and face-to-face input really well, but then moves children on to independent learning based on questions in textbooks and worksheets, can easily undo their own teaching gains. Imagine the teacher, for example, who rightly insists during face-to-face input that their children should use factual recall to find 2-digit add 1-digit totals. So, for example, 46 add 7, well that must be 53 because the 13 jumped out from the 6 add 7 part. But then only to go and ask children to go off and do 10 questions on a sheet. Or at home that evening, or independently in the classroom. Well, the child may or may not keep to that strategy and pace. Some may even revert back to counting on. Disaster. And with number knowledge we can't leave anything to chance. It's nobody's fault, it's just very difficult to keep that press up when the teacher isn't there. But that's where EdTech finally comes in. This way, the teacher's face-to-face input that generated the cognitive processing speed and lays down that speed as an expectation is maintained in 2 further locations that day: independent classroom learning and homework. And if you're looking for a platform that can deliver on that, maximising all of that cognitive press available time in a week, then winning with numbers does all that hard work for you.